Welcome to another episode of All Pop No Culture. It's just me and Andrew again this week, and we turn a lot of nothing into something. We talk about a huge variety of things, but the main focus is on the Idris Elba joint Beast, about a man versus a lion. Our other big topic is this week's glut of movie trailers, including Transformers, Indiana Jones, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Also, if you stay to the very end, we talk a bit about the Last of Us trailer that dropped the day we recorded this, Saturday. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and set up notifications. We'd love to hear from you, so if you like or hate what we're doing, leave a comment and tell us. We love feedback. And now, enjoy the show. All right, so just to kick this thing off, I'll start real quick, and I'll go over the few things that I watched. Because I will burn through them. So the first one, the first thing that I finally watched, because I tried to start it last week and didn't really make any progress. So I watched it this week and concentrated on it more, was Nope. Which I enjoyed. It was different. It was a really different take on the whole alien invasion kind of idea, right? It was kind of classified as a horror movie, and I don't know that I buy that. It was suspenseful. It was interesting because it had something to say more so than most horror movies would. There was some really cool story bits in there. I love when somebody takes something that has the public's attention and tells even just a little tidbit of real history that we don't get. And so that was the story of the first motion picture that we saw was a man on a horse, and they pointed out in the movie, like, the person that got famous from that is the white man that made the fucking video, but the person on the horse is a black jockey. And nobody talks about him, but everybody talks about the dude that put the video together, which, I mean, at the time was a technical marvel. I kind of get it, whatever, but there was a person involved there that didn't get any credit. But it was great to see this small cast really kind of work together. I liked Keke Palmer; she was funny, but I was really impressed with Daniel Kaluuya. He was so, like, the stoic, like, cowboy type, right? Like, there's the scene when he goes into the barn and the kids are dressed like aliens and they're popping out of shit and it's being all weird. And I just love it because he just looks, he's like, nope. It just turns to fucking back up. And it was just so, like, he didn't overreact. Nothing. He's just like, it was so funny. And yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was cool. I mean, I'll talk spoilers a little bit, but before I do, it's on Peacock. If anybody wants to watch it, it's free. If you have Comcast or if you pay for Peacock, you can go watch it. But it's good. I don't know how I felt about the alien towards the end. And what I really had a problem with was, like, the death of the alien. I almost wish that they hadn't killed it. And just it kind of had ridden off, and then we don't know what's going to happen next. I would rather have that ending than have it eat a balloon and die. Because it started to, I got the idea of, if you look it in the eyes, that's when it knows that you're prey, right? Like, that's the basics of it. But I didn't like that it couldn't discern real eyes from fake cartoon eyes on a blow up thing. And then it ate it and exploded in its body, and then it died. So, I mean, that, if I had a problem with the film, that's really the only one. I think everything else was great. The idea that this thing wasn't necessarily the sentient aliens that we always think about, right? That are, we've come to take over your planet, or we've come to help you, or, whatever. This thing's just, like, hungry. It just showed up and it's there to eat. So
I think we're gonna have fun on this one. All right. So I I loved Nope because to me it was basically like a wild allegory for humanity's relationships to animals.
Oh, for sure.
And that alien was just a fucking animal, man. So,
Hmm.
I know dogs, I think if they eat chocolate, like it'll be bad.
Yeah.
So it's like I think it was like a giant animal, and just like with the chimp, the monkey that like went crazy on that set, like that part to me in the theater was when I was like, yo, like that was some crazy stuff. And the best part about it is like I think you might remember there really was, I learned, like, I think it was 2011, there was a woman who had this chimp, or I think it was a chimp, who like attacked the neighbor and like ripped the neighbor's face off and I think killed the owner. They had to take him down.
Yeah.
But it was like he was so normal and like peaceful, had like a striped t-shirt and everything, but then turned into a murder bot. And I think what's being said in this film is that there are rules. There are rules to dealing with these animals, and that's why it's going to be a great transition to the next film that I'm not going to jump into it just yet, but the one behind you because it's again about the rules.
Right.
But so for me, I liked the idea of this alien being just an extracurricular extraterrestrial animal. You don't look it in the eye, again, the whole predator prey thing. But you can kind of fool it. I hated it. I was mad at it. It was killing motherfuckers left and right. Like I like Steven Yeun, you had a good relationship with it, and the one time you fuck up, you kill him. Are you serious right now? Yeah, fuck you, alien. It was beautiful and weird when it turned into that big kind of jellyfish looking thing in the sky. I was like, what the
Yeah, I
fuck?
thought it looked cool.
Yeah,
I would. What was weird is, I guess, the only issue that I had with the design is it looked so, I don't know, like clothy. Like
yeah,
it looked fake. And then when it opened up, like it looked like a parachute more than it looked like an actual like living thing.
right.
Um, but that must have been intentional because they had the money to do it however they wanted. So,
Yeah,
but I liked the Stephen Yoon story because he's the one that survived the ape attack, and he had this idea that he was, safe and blessed and all this, and he didn't have an understanding of this thing that he was trying to sell to that crowd of people. So, he went in thinking he was untouchable, because I read something, and I don't know if it was in the movie and I missed it, or if it was just kind of in an explanation, but like when he survived that ape attack in the beginning, the chimp attack, if you watch the opening scene, there's a shoe that's standing up on point. It never falls over. And he sees that as like a sign from God that he's been saved, right?
mhm.
And so um he's convinced that he is untouchable. And so now he thinks he's basically magical, and so he's going out. That's why he's buying the horses from Daniel Kaluuya's farm, is because he's using them to feed
Or
this thing.
yes,
And now he thinks that he's, I don't know, connected with this thing somehow, and he's not at all. It's literally, like you said, it's there to feed. And he made the mistake of making eye contact when things didn't go right, when it showed up and things didn't quite go right. Um, I love that it was a trip because there was a lot of misdirection in the trailer too. Because they show the girl that also survived the TV show.
mhm.
The one time she's in the audience when he's going to bring the alien in, and they show her face and it's just mauled and messed up. But when they show it in the trailer, the way they show it, it's just a flash of only her face with no explanation. So you get like this feeling that either she's being attacked and something's like messing her up, or something horrific happens to her in the movie, and it really doesn't. She's just there, and she is messed up, but it's because
Yeah.
of something that happened that we never actually see happen to her. Um,
I think
but
one scene I really also love that was realistic was do you remember when the TMZ guy or whatever like was on the motorcycle and then he crashes after they tell him not to do it, and then like
yeah,
Lou runs back to try to save him, but then he realizes there's no time, so he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, dude, like I'm
yeah,
trying to warn you, like I'm out, like, and
yeah, that was so great. And I For as much as I didn't want the
Um,
alien to explode at the end, and it was a little corny that she got the perfect picture from the well, but at the same time, like I love the idea of them being the only ones that can really profit from this because of all the stuff that they've been through like
yes,
the whole time.
yes.
Um, and the other thing about them versus Steven Yeun's character and versus the TMZ guy, anybody else, they understood it as quickly as they could, and they respected it. So for for it to end the way that it did, I think it was a good ending. Um, like I said, I kind of wish it had just flown off, and we have to wonder if it's going to come back with some buddies to do a little more feeding or whatever. But or why it picked that valley over anywhere else.
Well,
Um,
what did you think of Wincott's character? Because I kind of got it. Like this was a guy who was super talented at his cinematography. I loved the negotiation that Kiki has with him, in terms of getting him to finally like go for it. And like he was kind of a guy who was just waiting to die. Like he just was kind of like, I've got nothing else.
Sort of like he hadn't done the next thing yet, right? Like he'd done everything that he could do,
Yes.
and so if he was going to go out, he's going to go out doing his thing. I partly wished that he had dropped his camera somewhere where they
Thank
could get
you.
it, um, or even better, if he had taken it all the way through and then we see it get spit out at the end because it always dumps out
Yeah.
all the stuff that it can't eat.
Yeah.
So that would have been cool too. But I think that sets it up so that
Kiki can
that
get
picture is worth more.
yeah.
I love when he shows up with his camera and he's like, "Yeah, I have to do it manually. He's got no thing." She's like, "I told you he would have a camera with no." She's so funny.
Yeah.
Uh, then I think that's something that Jordan Peele's really good at is mixing in some humor into these things that are so serious and um, so weird, right? Like all of his films definitely have their strangeness to them, and I think this movie was really successful at the box office, I believe. And I think he's gonna continue to get the budget to do kind of the
Yes.
things he wants to do. Um, he's cool. Like I dig his stuff. So um, he did the Twilight. Did you ever watch the Twilight Zone?
I never did. Was that on Apple? Or was
Maybe.
it Paramount? I think it was on one of them. I think maybe it was Paramount, I think.
Maybe
Because that
it
would
was
make sense.
Paramount
CBS,
actually.
Paramount actually makes
Yeah.
sense. No, did you watch
Um,
those? I
I
did.
watched I watched the first season, I think.
Was it good?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It's hard to bring back the magic of the Twilight Zone,
Mhm.
um, because of kind of when it was and the way black and white worked in its favor. And Rod Serling was a genius. Like the stuff that he put out there was fucking great. Like the dude that survives an atomic blast or a war, and to find a library full of books that are all in good shape, only to drop his glasses and have them break at the end. Like there's just these subtle things that they did in the old Twilight Zone were so brilliant. Or the one with the pig faced woman, like when they were doing the
No,
plastic
I,
surgery.
I got, I
These are
got,
the original, like the old
yeah.
school. But there's one where this woman, she's getting plastic surgery, and they take off the mask, and she's beautiful to us, but everyone around her has like these mutated like animal faces, and they all what we would think are ugly, and they think she's ugly because she's different than them, even though
Good allegory.
she's beautiful. Yeah, and so Twilight Zone was brilliant. Twilight Zone was just unreal.
The last
Uh,
thing I'll just say then on Nope, I'm glad you saw it. Is yeah, I think that what I like about his films is that like other people like the Tarantinos is that he is no tour filmmaker. It his voice. I loved that the whole Kaneda slide in terms of the motorcycle by the
mhm.
well, like that was very much taken from Akira. So I loved that. And like you said, like the humor is hilarious because I'm thinking back to like moments in Us that should be gruesome and crazy, but were funny, because it was just funny. So yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because I have not watched Us yet. I totally forgot that I haven't watched Us. So I
Oh,
just added that to my list of films too.
yes, I'll rewatch
So
that too.
yeah,
Cool.
I'll let you know when I watch it so we can fire that one up. Yeah, it's been on my list forever, and then I forgot to add it to this one, so I'll watch that. So after Nope, I went over to Netflix and I watched a show called Inside Man, which, do not confuse it with the Clive Owen, Denzel Washington film from the like 2010-ish, which is a great film. Actually, I really liked it. Great ending to that film. But this one is totally different. I'm gonna spoil this. You said you may or may not watch it, so I'm just gonna ruin it for you a little bit. But the gist of the story is that there's two kind of there's the major plot, and then you got the subplot. And the subplot is that Stanley Tucci plays a man who murdered his wife, and we don't ever get any real details as to why, but he's on death row for it. And it comes out later in the story that when he killed her, he cut off her head, and they never found her head. But by all accounts through the whole story, he is calm, he's kind, he's helpful. And so people come to him because he used to study criminology. So people come to him to help them understand criminal cases and things around them. And so this woman comes to interview him, just to get information out of him. And he's always accommodating, but he's got to deal with the warden that he's like, I'm not going to take anything on I don't want to. And he's like, it's because I want to do something that I feel like gives back to the world because of what I did. He's like, I owe the world. And so, like I said, by all accounts, you watch this whole thing, and his character is kind. And he says a couple of times in the show, he's like, everyone's a murderer if they meet the right person. Wow. And yeah, and it's a trip. Like, and so you've got this, he's calm, cool, collected, but he also knows that everybody has this in them. So the main plot of the story, where this girl that was going to interview him, when she was leaving England, she bumped into this woman, got her card, and just wanted to get to know her because the woman kind of stands up for her on a subway. And so they're not close friends, but they've been talking a little bit. And she works as a math tutor for a pastor's son, a vicar is what they call him in England, but a pastor's son. And so the pastor is played by David Tennant. And he's a from what you can tell in the story, he's a nice guy. He's a hardworking pastor, really does his job the way you would expect a pastor to do. And this guy comes in all twitchy and shaky and nervous, and he's got a thumb drive. And he's like, I need to give you this thumb drive before my mom gets here. And this guy is like in his probably early 20s. And he's like, I need you to take this. My mom can't see what's on it. I think he even says it's porn. He's like, but she'll hurt me if she finds it. She checks my room all the time. And when David Tennant looks down his arm's all scratched up. Like, you tell this guy's like depressed, like he's tried suicide. And so he takes the thumb drive and he hides it to protect the guy without looking at it, without knowing what's on it. And then he takes it home. And when he gets home, he needs to do, the lady that he picked up, that's the math tutor, is working on something in his office. And he goes in there and he's talking to her, and she's like, oh, I need to copy a file or something. And the son walks in, picks up the thumb drive from the thing, hands it to her to use, and she plugs it in and opens it, and there's child pornography on it. And so this woman with no context immediately thinks that it's the son's.
Oh, okay.
That she thinks it's the son's, and she starts to freak out. And so everything spirals from here because these people can't communicate with each other long enough to just clear up the story. And so even though the pastor's a good man, he now feels like he has to protect his son, who did nothing wrong, right, but she believes did. So he's trying to convince her that the son did nothing wrong. So she refuses to believe. And finally he's like, it's mine. It's my porn, just to get the attention off of the son. And she doesn't believe that. Like, she still believes it was him. And so, like, things are just going sideways. She tries to run out of the house. He chases her. She falls and hits her head. But she's not, like, she's got a scratch, but she gets up, and he's like trying to help her wipe it off. And she's freaking out. And he's like, we just need to talk about this. and blah blah blah. And there's a door to their basement that's open, and they start yelling, and he like starts to push her towards the basement because he just wants to get her somewhere that he can talk to. Like it's just everything is just bad. Like things just aren't going well. And he gets her to the stairway, and she pushes him, and he pushes back, and she falls down the stairs. Still doesn't die, but she's hurt. And so he locks her in the basement. And it's just like it's this story of shit just spiraling and spiraling and spiraling because none of these people are willing to communicate with each other. And I won't give anything else away, but like that's the gist of like just shit piles and piles and piles. And there's a moment in the last episode that you're just like, it just was an oh fuck moment where it happened, and like my eyes were huge and my jaw dropped, and I was like, oh fuck. And it's just all the things that happen, like it's all believable. Like you could see all these things happening to normal people by the simple fact that they wouldn't talk to each other or they wouldn't listen to each other. And it's really good. Like the acting is really good. You expect it from Stanley Tucci. I think you expect it from David Tennant at this point. And all the characters around them are really good. The young girl that's the reporter that's trying to do this interview, she realizes that this woman is not replying to anybody, so she's worried about her. So she's also kind of side talking to Stanley Tucci about her friend who's now gone missing. So that's a trip. But it's good. It's really good. It's only 4 episodes. It's a 4-episode miniseries, hour long. You can tell it's something that could get another season if they wanted to. Netflix is weird about this, so I don't know what's going to happen. They just canceled something that I was
the Midnight Club.
Midnight Club. I thought for sure that we get a second season, but I was reading somewhere that I think what's his name, the director
Flanagan got another
Flanagan,
deal
yeah, with Prime, yeah, so that could be part of the cancellation too.
Totally.
Which is a bummer. I really wanted to see another season of that, but I want to see Flanagan go use Prime money because it seems like Amazon's willing to spend more than Netflix is.
Yeah, $1 million
after Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so I have a feeling that talks are going to heat up with him and the Dark Tower series because he's kind of itching to do that. And if if Prime's willing to spend the money they did on Lord of the Rings, exactly, he may not get that much money, but he'll get some money to do something pretty epic. And he is probably the only person that I would trust with that story. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Word up.
And the last thing I started to watch it, I'll talk about it real quick, just because it's so different. Over on Hulu, they have. I started to see these ads not long ago, kind of as we are, like hitting just this epic like peak of superhero like in America. The first Hindi superhero film dropped on Netflix, and you can actually watch it in native Hindi or you can watch it in English. And it's called Brahmastra, and it's supposed to be a trilogy, and this is part 1, and it's about Shiva. And if I'm gonna watch it, I think I need to watch it again because I only got about halfway through it. To no fault of the show, it is so culturally different that it was almost shocking because you have this opening scene. It's an action scene. The colors are so bright, like just everything, like the powers the guys use are bright lights. Like everything's bright. Everything is crazy colorful. You got pinks, you got purples, you got blues that are bright. Like it is beautiful to the point where it's almost too pretty. But if you've ever even just flipped past Bollywood shows, all color, like there's so much color in Bollywood stuff, and that's what it feels like. And so I'm watching this, trying to get an idea for what's going on in the story and picking it up. And there's like a romance subplot. There's the superhero subplot kind of thing going on. And this dude has this moment where he thinks it looks like he kind of got a message from a higher power kind of thing. And then he goes outside, and there's this huge fucking dance number where he's singing and dancing all of a sudden. And I was just like,
Oh, that is straight up Bollywood.
what the fuck is happening? But it's so Bollywood, right? Like, but I don't know enough about what Bollywood to know what I'm talking about when I say that, right?
Sure.
It's what I know of Bollywood from other things. Um, and so it's just it was a culture shock. It wasn't a bad thing. It was kind of neat to see.
Mhm.
And again, just so much color and everything is beautiful and everybody's smiling, everybody's having a good time. And I almost wonder like where it fits into this epic battle kind of story for superheroes. So I may start over and go in a little more armed. And I think I was saying it before we started really recording. Um, I really might have to do it with subtitles and see the original actors because there's a lot of jokes and sarcasm and humor that doesn't play well in voiceover. Like the example I use is if you tried to have somebody do a voiceover for Tony Stark, it's not going to feel right. So I think it might be better in the native language with subtitles and figuring out what they're saying because part of it too is that the voice actors still have pretty thick I don't know if it's Indian or whatever, but accents. And I'm still losing some of the words, so I'd be better off just reading them anyways. Um, but it was neat. Like if you're looking at least to try something different and see this cultural thing, the production quality behind it is great. Like they put real money, the special effects all look good. It's so vibrant. It's so different than what we're used to. It's like everything. If you took the Zack Snyder universe and did the exact opposite, that's what this is. Like it's brightness and happiness and light and all this stuff. And it's it's cool. It's weird. It's different. I'm sure people that that they watch Bollywood and they watch this stuff are like, yeah, this is normal or normal-ish to a degree. But for me, it's so different.
So
Um,
something you said made me reflect on my own kind of like when I ventured out to, kind of big blockbuster films or just films in general that are international. So the first one that I thought of, and I went back to try to like understand it, was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
oh
Big
yeah, I love
deal
that
in
one.
2000. Okay, actually, I'd love to hear because yo, dude, I've tried to watch it twice and I just dropped off. I think the first time I dropped off was right after she kind of gets like captured by that like desert guy, whatever, and then they totally fall in love. I just lost interest. The second time I dropped off, it was towards the end. I made it all the way past when she breaks that guy's heart, but then it's like the young one who's whoever like she starts fighting a bunch of guys in like a restaurant somewhere like they're trying to get her sword. I just lost interest and it's like I so maybe the third time I would have finished the damn film, but I don't get it. Like I don't get why that film was such a big deal. The fight scenes, the rope work, I get that, but the story itself, uh,
I think it was timing though, like when because it had to
2000
be
I want to
around the
say
time of the Matrix too.
it was right
So
after it.
Wire Works and all that fighting style was original, and it wasn't an American film
Oh,
because it was
China.
Ang Lee, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and so it wasn't an American film, but somehow it got legs in America, and I don't
yeah.
know what
Chow
exactly it
Yun
was.
Fat, and then actually Michelle Yeoh. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the first time we see Michelle Yeoh, who pretty much
yeah,
looks the same, by the way, in that movie, which is
right. Yeah,
props
she's
to
a bit
her.
of a vampire.
Yes,
Um, but
you
yeah,
you like the film?
well, so here's the thing: I haven't seen it since, and I've always wanted to. But the one thing, it's long.
Yes.
It's not a short film,
Oh,
but I saw it in the theater. So, like we've talked about before, sometimes something that you can't get through at home, you would have the advantage of watching in the theater because you paid the money, and it's not a bad film, right? Even if it's getting a little long in the tooth, you're like, I paid for this. I'm going to sit here and watch it the rest of the way. So, I think if I had tried to watch it at home, which again, a totally different era. You didn't watch shit at home until you went out and rented it at Blockbuster, right? Like it was not. We didn't have Netflix back then. We didn't have streaming at all. Um,
or Hollywood
so
Video, reference to your
right,
earlier story.
yeah, yeah. So of course you're going to watch it in the theater.
Yeah.
And that was a big advantage. There was no, you really didn't even text people back then very often, right? Like even texting was pretty
Oh yeah,
minimal, and
no. It was
so
back then it was not. Yeah, yeah, it was.
yeah,
And
you did not get distracted. You sat down and you watched the film, and so I think if you saw it that way, that would probably be really beneficial.
but that
Um,
said,
but
like,
it
but I
gets it runs long. It runs super long, and you kind of run out of story. Give a damn, you know?
yeah, but like
Yeah.
Parasite, like I loved that, and I also liked God, another one I had. Oh, Busan. Okay. So I didn't finish Last Train to Busan, but I'm
I
going
still need to watch that one too.
that one's freaky. But yeah, it just made me think of like how yeah, you just gotta like figure it out. But I'm curious about your thing, what you just described. I think I already forgot the name of it, but at the same time, I am not really a musical person. So I think if people start breaking out into song, here's the other thing. Other thing. Okay. I can do a musical as long as it's not a song every like 2 minutes, because at that point, what it tells me is the following, and I'm an asshole for this, but like if it's a song every 2 minutes, that means there's really not much of a story. Like, because the numbers are taking up so much of the fucking runtime, that means this is really just it's a mood, man. It's just like,
It
oh, I
it
feel
does
sad.
depend, because if you see something like Wicked, right? Wicked's a musical. You got music all the time, but when a musical is well done, you're telling the story in the music. So Hamilton is an opera. There's almost no spoken word in Hamilton at all. So every single minute of that show is telling the
Narrative.
story. So it really does depend on that. Now this, I feel like this Brahmastra, the dance number, maybe there's some meaning behind the number. I don't know, but it doesn't feel like it's driving the story. Like you could probably cut that out and continue the story and make it, but I think that would make it more American. So that's the thing, right? Like if you took these things out that are these moments
Yeah.
of what they do, for sure that fits your, or
Well,
doesn't fit
what
your
what
aesthetic.
I was like, so for example, like I was going to watch Silent Night, or Spirited, whatever. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Spirited. And then, Pete, shout out to Pete, he's like, as a warning, it's a musical. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready, whatever. And I like how it started, and I'm going to talk about it on the next show, or the one afterwards. Anyways, but it's like I was like, oh no, like because I hadn't finished Beast yet, and then I turned it on, but then it was like 2 minutes in, another song. I'm like, oh no, oh hell no, I gotta stop this for right now, because like I just I no, I need some narrative. Anyway,
So
that's enough for now. Yeah,
yeah, no. So what I would say for Brahmastra, I would say give
Brahmastra.
it 30 minutes. Just check it out, if nothing else, just to get that little slice of culture.
Yeah,
And then if you're not into it, by all means, don't finish it. But it was cool. It was different. It was neat. Like I said, it was beautiful. Like it really was beautiful. The actors are beautiful. Like it's
that'll get me. If
yes,
people are nice to look at,
there's
I'll watch. Cool.
yeah. I mean, all the dudes are handsome, but there's like two female characters that I can think of offhand that I really saw. The female lead, she's really pretty. The kind of female villain chick is really pretty. So they could draw you in with that, but like everybody is attractive. Like and
Cool.
it's neat. I would just say give it a shot for no other reason than
Cultural
see what you
enrichment.
think. Yeah,
Yeah,
get a little education.
word up.
All right, so cool. So then real quick before we jump to Mr. Idris Elba, you watched or started to watch Tales of the Jedi, correct?
I started to watch Tales of the Jedi, and I have to say, like, just straight up, like, my relationship to Star Wars, I think, is complicated because, one of the things that I've just noticed is anybody like who kind of knows me, I think they think I like Star Wars more than I actually do, So it's almost like they'll like make Star Wars references or like get me shit like gifts. I'm just kind of like, oh, that's cool, but like, I'm not like that into it, whatever. We're like, oh, you don't know about this? And I'm like, no, but can I keep my geek card? Like, so anyway, so I was I only watched like one thing before this show, which was The Beast, which we're going to talk about. But I just needed something else. I needed something to cram before I got to the exam that is this podcast. So I look at Tales of the Jedi. I look at the run times. I go, oh, okay, I can handle this. So 19 minutes. It's, I think, something about life and death or something, and it's Ahsoka. And so she's born. We see a cute baby, and we see her mom, and then she kind of swaddles up Ahsoka, who gives me serious Grogu Baby Yoda vibe. She's adorable, and they go out to hunt. And apparently, the whole purpose of this hunt situation is to kind of, teach an early lesson about life and death and how to respect life and respect death because it's all part of nature. And so it was really weird but deep to see that this cutesy little animation thing, Mama Ahsoka, like, that's not her name, but she has a gun, like a rifle, and or a blaster, and she blasts this, like, grazing animal, whatever, and the animal, like, is shot and is lying there, like, dying. And she takes baby Ahsoka and says, look, I need you to look and face death because it's important. And I'm like, damn, dude. And I'm just imagining, like, if I was a parent and I had little kids, like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I guess they need to see this, but it's pretty heavy. I started feeling like, damn, I wasn't ready for this level of emotion. And you see, like, the eyes of the animal and just lying there, like, dying. And I'm like, damn. And then, like, the mama just, like, takes a knife and plunges it into the heart, and then the animal dies. And it also made me think about, okay, well, I'm a meat eater. Like, I totally get why some people are vegan, because they do it because they feel bad about eating animals. Meanwhile, I'm loving all the processed meats or whatever, but not realizing that there is a whole, factory murder killing machine situation going on. So what I'm saying, totally digressing, but it's all relative. And you guys, I'm going to gross everyone out of this podcast, is when they figure out synthetic meat, I will totally eat that shit. I don't care, because I need protein to stay lean. Yeah, you didn't ask for any of that, but I do. Like, I can't do the carb thing because I'm gonna, like, blow up, and fuck that. So anyway, synthetic meat is humane. I'll do it. I don't care. All right. So anyway, so the mom, after she kills, like, the thing, then this fucking, like, giant beast. This is the most, like, breadcrumbed, like, topic ever in terms of our podcast. We keep talking about this damn movie, knowing full well we didn't like it, but we're talking about it, so whatever. Anyway, this beast shows up, this saber-toothed tiger thing, whatever, and she's fighting Mama Ahsoka. I'm totally thinking to myself, well, I never saw Mama Ahsoka in Clone Wars, so maybe this is it. This is where she bites it. Like, this is totally Disney. But then luckily, like, Mama Ahsoka survives because the rest of her, like, clan shows up. But then the beast takes baby Ahsoka. So I'm like, damn, like, that's rough, But then, like, the beast and baby Ahsoka are in a cave, and then, like, the beast is, like, ready to, like, fucking chomp her, eat her in, like, one gulp, and then baby Ahsoka, like, touches its nose, and then it's like, and then, like, basically you go back to the village, and all of a sudden, like, you hear, like, the beast, like, approaching, and baby Ahsoka is riding it. So I'm kind of like, wow, like, I'm kind of respecting the beast, because I'm thinking, like, maybe the beast just had to change her heart or something. But then it's revealed at the end that Grandma Ahsoka, that's her name, is, like, she's a Jedi, and I got to chill. So it was like, okay, so that's why I got Grogu vibes, because, like, in this universe that Dave Filoni, who wrote and directed this, in this universe, like, the Force really is like spirituality and God and whatever. It's this thing that is pan species. It's all over it, and that's the other thing I liked about it. It's like droids are pan species because there's droids on that planet, and the Force is, and I think that the reason why I love it is because that to me is depth. Because even if there's no way to prove that, like, God or Christianity or whatever is real, the Force is the same way in that universe. Like, when you see in Force Awakens, like, Han goes, like, it's real, like, because even them, they're like, yo, that's just legend. It's not like they didn't really, like, Luke wasn't really a Jedi, and, like, Han's like, nah, dude, like, nah, that shit is real, And I just think it's great. I think faith and hope and all these emotions, they make us more alive. They make us more just I almost said human, but but then I was like, but human's so like not inclusive, not like we haven't met other species yet, but that's just shows how how much mythology has just entered my consciousness. When aliens show up, I'll be ready for them. Anyway, wow, I am so digressing tonight. This dang show, I all I'm saying is this: watch Tales of the Jedi, because I think that the world building that's happening right now in the Star Wars franchise is totally reinvigorating it. I think that they were smart enough to get away from the Skywalkers. The Skywalkers are central, yes, but there's so much more. And I think they've got the right creatives behind it now. You've got Filoni, who I think just has the kind of, he really is the heir. He is the true heir to George Lucas, in my opinion. So we're
I think
glad
so.
he's there. We're glad
More
he's
so than Kennedy, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not even going to speak about yeah, you know how I feel about that. But between that and then just Andor and Luthen being potentially a Jedi, I am so inspired and reinvigorated to get back into it. So I'm ending this rant by saying that my complicated relationship to Star Wars is going to change in 2023, because I am going to watch the Essential Clone Wars. I am going to, catch up on Rebels, and I'm going to finish watching the Tales of the Jedi, because apparently it goes into even the backstory of Count Dooku. So, or I think Darth Tyrannus, I think is his Darth name.
I think so, yeah.
I'm ready for that. So yeah, I now had something to bring to the table to show and tell for all pop and no culture. You've watched all, haven't you?
I have, but I fell asleep. I was watching with my son and I fell asleep, so I need to rewatch actually and catch I think I missed some of the middle ones. But it reminds me that you start talking about Count Dooku and his backstory. The Acolyte is coming out
Yes.
next year with Daphne Keene,
Yes.
who was in Wolverine.
X-22, I think, or weapon, or yeah,
X-23. She's X-23.
great.
She's
Yes.
made from Wolverine's DNA. But she has said this is going to be the first Star Wars anything told from the point of view of the Sith. And I was like, that's kind of dope. That's cool. Like I like you said, I love that they're doing all these different things that when you're doing the Star Wars or when you're doing the Skywalker story, you're tied to the Skywalker story. And here we're not anymore. Like we're seeing I mean, technically Andor is kind of tied in because it leads into everything that kicked off our generation's Star Wars stories. And Skywalker Saga, but they're doing Ahsoka, which is they're doing it as a samurai. You've got Mandalorian's a Western. Andor is a thriller, a spy thriller, basically. So it's cool. It's cool to see them working different genres and stuff like that, and telling very different stories. So I think they said there's still the one coming out now. I forgot the name of it, but it's going to have some kids in it, and it's going to be kind of like an 80s kids adventure kind of idea behind the story. And I think that's really cool. So I'm excited with what they're doing. I think Tales of the Jedi is an awesome kind of kick into that. So
Yeah. I would say one more thing, and that is I also realized I love shorts. I love shorts because I think the shorts, I think kind of like to what we were talking about earlier, I like it when a story is condensed, because it's like I just have like the worst attention span. So if you can tell a deep story, but it's in a short time frame, it really forces the storyteller to kind of be disciplined with their pacing and really have a point and not meander. And so and the shorts just kind of leave you with a thought, or they just help to build the world in the context. So whether it was the little Attack on Titan episodes I was talking about a few weeks back, or whether it's the Star Trek shorts that took place between the first season and the second season, that really actually just bolster the second season because they're all like little preludes to it. Yeah, they're dope. So I just realized that about myself, that I really, if I see a short that really is tertiary to a story, but at the same time adds context to it, I'm all in. So yeah.
nice. Well,
Nice.
it's funny that Nope is very animal related, and Tales of the Jedi, at least the first episode, is very
Yes.
animal related because our main goal this week, since none of our friends feel like showing up ever anymore, it's just you and me. We got together and made each other watch Beast with one Mr. Idris Elba, and if you've seen the trailers, it is Idris Elba versus Lion, with some subplots, and to be honest, like for me, that's all it was. Like I know there was stuff going on, but like I think I said it in our chat. It was like, what if you did Jaws but on land, and instead of a shark, you had a lion, and it was less interesting. Like that's kind of like where I was. Like it wasn't necessarily a bad film, but it was almost a little cliched in so many places. Like the ending, I was like, no. And
So like keep going, or let's see.
no, I was gonna say, and just like the relationship with the daughter, she's mad at him because he, didn't do right when their mom was dying. He didn't spend enough time with them, and so this is they're on this adventure because they need to get to know each other again, and and all that. So yeah, it's not a bad film. I didn't hate it, but it was cliche for me.
So I mean, so I'm looking up the director, and I, he hasn't really done anything. I mean, I'm sure he's done nice things. Like I'm sure like some artsy people like his shit. But he's from Iceland, and unfortunately, because I saw Wham, that's Iceland
Mm.
shit, and that's not my best like impression. So I think that's the first pretty piece. Like Idris Elba deserves like some like big name Hollywood directors if you're gonna like, headline a film. And I feel like this was kind of below him. I think that I think the film was ambitious. Like I felt like it tried to be a little profound with like the opening with the whole like South Africa thing and the music and like okay, this is gonna be like culturally like rich, but then it just wasn't. Like it was just kind of
Mm-mm.
like no. And then like even the end, it has like a Fela Kuti song going on. And Fela Kuti's a big deal for people who are very kind of like plugged into like the world music. But okay. I think that as far as just like from a media image standpoint to see like I'm just gonna say it like a black man protecting his family, like that's the kind of image that you do want to see more of. And I think that's part of what was there. But then going back to just my own personality, like I want a horror film that actually depicts a situation where like motherfuckers didn't sign up for the shit that they're going into. Like, I want a movie where it's Andrew chilling in his apartment, doing his own thing, and then some like, alien shit happens on the outside, and I'm like, okay, so there's no way I could have avoided this. Like, this is happening to me, and now I have to deal with it. No. You were deciding to go out into a fucking safari with a bunch of wild animals that can kill your ass, and you're choosing to do this. Like, you putting yourself in this situation, and I'm just like I'm already like yeah, see, this wouldn't happen to me. Like I can't relate. Like you just you keep signing up for this shit. So yes, I get that they went to like mommy's homeland. They meet Uncle William, I think his name is, and that's cool. Like it's cool that they're trying to like repair themselves. The daughters are annoying to me. The younger daughter, at least, is the smarter one. I feel like the older one was just like hating on dad and
Yeah.
like walking away and getting captured and shit or whatever. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is why. Anyways, I'm sorry. Calm down, Anna. Don't be so fucking grumpy. Like, this is why I don't do this. But anyway, but the younger daughter, like the moment she won me over was like when the lion is like, hitting up the car and she stabs the lion with a tranquilizer dart. I'm like, yes, you're useful. Like, yes, okay, cool. Like you're not a liability anymore. Um, but yeah, like I just felt like this is a movie where I'm not gonna lie, if I had gone to the theater and watched it, I wouldn't have hated it. Like I put it on the level of like say old. Like it was just kind of like if I had seen old at home, I would have been like, this is fucking lame. I saw it in the movies, so I was like, I was entertained. And this one, I was like, I was entertained. And I will say the whole time, I did feel stress and tension because it's like, holy shit, like you're in an environment where everything wants to kill you. Like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
when he caught the snake and dropped it on the lion, I was like, that's
Hmm.
he should have died right then and there.
Yeah.
Like the snake, you're not faster than a snake, homie. Um, when you're in the water, like where is the hippo and why hasn't it eaten him already?
Yeah.
Where is the water snake and why hasn't it killed him already? Like the whole time, I'm just like, see, like this movie, like it's supposed to be a movie, a family drama and action, but all it did was just say, okay, Andrew, you're never going on safari. Like, fuck that. Like, we're never, ever, ever doing that shit. Um, because you'll be out there, you'll have no water, you're gonna be like maimed by animals, you're gonna have like burn knives and cauterize your wounds and scream, and then alert the animals to your attention, they can come finish you off. There's poachers who are gonna shoot you anyway, and not like there's nope. Oh, and then at the end of the movie, they go back. Like he's walking around with a cane, like all fucked up, probably for life after the thrashing you got from the lion, and you go back to that place where you got fucked up and take trees in the fucking no. So anyway, yeah.
Well, yeah, and like it was like a super lion, right? Because they couldn't tranquilize it, right? It was just he's like, I shot it with like 10 of them, and they're like, oh my god, it's already awake. It's been like 3 minutes. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what? And then when the poachers show up, the lion's just like, hey, like I've been trying to kill you for like 2 hours. Let me kill these other guys with guns first, and then I'll try and get you. And then at the end, when they show up at the other,
Yeah.
and the lions, the other two lions, like save him.
Well,
I
okay,
was like,
but
I get it. Like they were the other dude's lions. They're like
no,
they
but
were
it
just
wasn't even that. It was the rule. So going back to like nope, it's like the rule is, you know, he led asshole lion to that pride because that pride is there to kill like any other male lions from another pride. So he's just like he's the Wolverine lion of that other pride. Like, you kill all
yeah,
the X-Men, Wolverine's the last one standing. Okay. So he's the last one standing. Um, I'll admit, like that was rough. Like watching Eaters get fucked up. At one point, I think you see tendon like get lifted up from his back. Like I'm like, holy shit, But that's real shit. But he had to get close enough to the other pride to draw them in and kill. So it's all about just understanding the rules. Like and like
yeah,
you even said, like I think on the last show, if a lion ran up to you that you raise, you said like they would smell the fear and then it's a wrap, so the
yeah,
rules. It's like, yeah, you can like be cool and all with the animal, but if the animal smells fear on you, all of a sudden you've activated its predator gene or whatever, and it's a wrap. So that's what it was. He was smart enough to remember that he just had to draw Wolverine to the other pride, and that's why they did it. But I thought it was fucked up that they just chilled and waited, for him to get
yeah.
fucked up first before.
Oh, dude, and that's the other thing. Like he survived a lot of shit that I really like. Looking at the
Yeah, no,
size of
dude.
that lion, I'm like, nah, dog. Like if that lion bit down on your arm, your bones are shattered. Like like okay.
Yeah.
Like it's just at least in Jaws, like Roy Scheider didn't fall into the shark's mouth and then get back out and then blow up the shark, right? Like,
Yes, it was realistic,
yeah,
because the guy who did get like he's legitimately, yeah, like it's a wrap.
yeah, yeah. And like he wrestled that lion like 3 times. The lion killed dudes with guns with no problem, like instantly. But Super Idris is like, it must have been Idris Elba from like the Fast and the Furious movie where he was like, I'm Black
I'm Black
Superman.
Superman.
Like,
Yes,
like,
exactly.
like that's who was fighting the lion. And I was just like, oh, just like he had to be getting a paycheck for this. Like he had to owe somebody a favor. Like somebody's got a picture of him with somebody he's not supposed to be with or something. Like he just
Yeah,
eh,
I don't know like what I mean, I'm sure he was probably just drawn to the script. Like he just wanted like
I'm sure,
you
or at
know,
least the idea of it, like you said, like it's a black man protecting his family in Africa from the wild, from things that are out of control, right? Like there's a lot of elements of it that are good, right? There's a lot of elements that are of it that are solid, um, and like I said, not too different from Jaws in its own ways. Like a lot of it is similar. Um, it's just it wasn't very well made. The effects were fine. I don't think I really had a problem with the effects.
I'm surprised because I feel like you tend to be pretty tough on the effects. Because I know for Prey, like you were not you definitely I think you weren't a fan of that.
Yeah, some of the animals I didn't dig on. The bear I think bothered me on
Yeah,
Prey.
it was a yeah. But so I was like, but I definitely I think the only time I really thought, okay, this is definitely like a CGI lion was when the truck or the whatever falls down and in the ravine. And like yeah, there's no way like you could have a real lion like do that and like
Yeah, yeah.
set up like that's computer. But going back to the earlier piece, so the Wikipedia article talks about the demographic of the viewers, which is kind of interesting. So the largest demographic, as you can expect, was African American at 34%, followed by Caucasian at 23%, Hispanic. I'm sorry, 26% Caucasian, 23% Hispanic, and then 10% Asian. So again, it's kind of like, you do kind of like it served its audience. So it was like a decent film, again, from a, just a representation standpoint, media
Yeah.
images. But yeah, I just don't think it was at the same time. Oh, another thing, I never saw the 1996 film, The Ghost in the Darkness, but apparently that was actually based on a true story about a
Right. Yeah.
predatory cat that was fucking up like these miners in South Africa. But I heard
Was
that was
that Michael Douglas?
this one, yeah, dude. Michael
Okay.
Douglas and
Yeah.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
So and this is back in 1898. So I might just see that next, but it's and I think it's actually based on a William Goldman. Why is that?
William Goldman did the Princess Bride, didn't he?
Well, it says here he was a novelist, playwright. He did Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid and All the President's Men.
Oh, maybe I'm
Also,
thinking of
oh
someone else.
yes, and The Princess Bride.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Frontman. So yeah, so he's the shit. So anyway, I think that it's probably what's the word, inspired this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, produced by Gail Ann Hurd. This is I think she was the
Okay.
wife of what's his
She's
name?
on
Cameron.
but she's a big producer of Walking Dead.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, cool, good
So
shit.
yeah, I mean, you can watch Beast for entertainment. It's not great.
No.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Like I said, it's a little cliche, it's a little predictable. All the things happen that are supposed to happen in a film like that. But it works. Idris is Idris. Like he's dope. Like he's obviously a little too dope in this to be able to, punch a lion in the face and walk away. But teach
Yeah.
their own. Uh, so that kind of takes us out of our regular content. But I think we had a week full of trailers this week. As a matter of fact, we had a day full of trailers. Really,
Yes.
like I don't know, what was it, Thursday? I think
That sounds
Wednesday,
right.
maybe. Like a bunch of trailers dropped, and since we're talking about Beast, we'll jump right into the one with beasts ish. The first one that we watched was the Transformers. Is it Rise of the Beasts? Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Which is their new take on Beast Wars. And I don't know, man. It's definitely a Michael Bay production. I don't think he's directing it. I could be wrong on that, but I thought somebody else was directing.
So it's directed by a guy named Stephen Cable Jr. But it's like it's basically it's produced by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. And Michael Bay is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm biting my lip because you know how I feel about the live action films.
Well, and you posted something that was interesting. They have a great voice cast for this
yes,
one.
they do.
Which is interesting. It's almost like Beast. Like where do you get, like, how do you entice these people that are these people? Because it was Michelle Yeoh, it was, I guess, and if it's just voice work, it's a little easier, I think.
So you got Michelle Yeoh, Ron Perlman, Pete Davidson, Peter Dinklage. Right. I mean, those are, but really, it's. I think who got me was Michelle Yeoh and Pete Davidson. And Pete Davidson actually being the character that had me all my feelings. So apparently, there is an Autobot. who is an Indy car, like a
Yeah,
drag
yeah,
racing car in the original named Mirage. And Mirage is kind of like a humble dude in the original show.
yeah,
But in this show, he's like a cool Porsche that knows how to like make holograms and evade shit. Which to me was like that feels more jazz than Mirage.
yeah,
So my beef with all these live action films is like you have this incredibly rich mythology that you could like totally mine the way Kevin Feige does, but instead it's almost like you take the mythology and take a big fat dump on it and then misrepresent my damn franchise to the world. So they all think that, when I talk about Transformers, the movie being one of my favorite movies of all time, they think I'm all about like, you know, that actress who's with Machine Gun Kelly. Like that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
no, dude. Like that's not like
Which,
what?
in her defense, I saw that movie on IMAX and seeing a 20-foot tall Megan Fox
Thank
under
you.
the hood of a car when I was in my 20s. I was like, I
Fair,
love you. but
fair.
but yes, no, she's not good at a very good actress and has nothing to do with the Transformers. But like when I think about all the problems with the live action films, the one that always gets me, it drives me batshit crazy, is how much they fucked up Jazz in the first one.
Yes.
Like he was such a stereotype that it was
Yes.
so
Oh,
bad. I was like,
yo, what up,
how?
G?
Yeah, yeah. And then, what's up, little bitches? I was like, what? I was like, how? Like
It's
who?
disrespectful. Like I as a matter, like
Yeah,
I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, okay, so just because like Scatman Crothers is a jazzy guy, like as in he's an older,
yeah,
but just because he's black, all of a sudden you make him like a street dude, like it's fucking
yeah.
ridiculous. And then
It really was.
Skids and Mudflap were even worse in the second movie. It was
They were the
straight up.
Japanese ones, right?
No, they were like hood. They were like hood
Oh, okay, okay.
hood bots. Like it was even worse. It was like it was just bad, man. So anyway, I'm just
Yeah,
saying. So I think I still think, and then I think Devastator was just this giant like he had nuts. Like anyway, it was
yeah.
so
Devastator wasn't even. Yeah, yeah,
but it's like so but yeah, going back to Jazz though, and then Jazz just dies in the first one. I think Reggaeton like rips him in half.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it was just anyway. So you know how I feel about this. Like you
yeah,
got me started, but keep going. But I have nothing but venom for the live action films.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'm
Actually,
the
wait,
same
one
way.
more thing, one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. I will say though, I remember the trailer because on trailers. The trailer to Dark of the Moon, I got really excited because it was like the moon, and then like even towards the end, like and then you see like a robot on the moon and you go into his eye, and then the eye looks kind of like Unicron. So I
Hmm.
was hoping that okay, this third time's a charm, maybe Unicron is the moon, in this live action film. I go to the theaters, I see the movie, it's not terrible, but it's like this is it. Like I'm not, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I This is the last time I go to a live action theater for Transformers because yes, it was cool hearing Leonard Nimoy in the movie,
Yeah,
but when like Prime saying shit like, we'll kill them all, like he actually says that in the third movie, like
yeah.
that's not Prime. Like what?
No,
I was done. Yeah. All right, go.
yeah. What surprised me too is that I feel like it was so weird that they got Peter Cullen to do this stuff because it was so out of character. Like I guess like I
Getting
would have
paid
thought that
way more than he did back in the 80s, dude.
sure, but like like that character is him. Like I just it's so weird to me that he didn't just say no to some stuff or be like, that's not what would happen, something. But it is what it is. This one, and that's the other thing too. Like as they went on, like the first film was tolerable for me. It had its problems for sure. Like I said, I hated what they did to Jazz. I hated that it was so like blatantly racist, and then he's the token black guy on top of that. Like they kill him. Like I was like, what are
Yes,
you
I didn't even
doing?
think about that. You're
I was
right.
like, well, what are you
They killed
doing?
the one black auto.
Yeah. Like I was like,
Of
dude.
course they did.
And like, but the animations weren't has like it was like as they went on, the transformations in each of the films got more elaborate. It took them like 45 minutes to transform from a robot into a car. And like one of the things that was so rad about the original Transformers cartoon is when Prime transformed, he basically fucking jumped up, his arms popped out, and he was done. Right? Like they were all reasonable. Like the transformations all made sense. And that's because somebody was sitting there with the toys
Yeah.
and designing something that would work.
Yes.
Right? Like when I was a kid and getting those Transformers toys, you could do them all those things worked. You had the Constructicons that turned into Devastator, like those guys, they all transformed, but they all fucking went together, and like all this stuff worked so well. And then like in the movies, they're just like, watch how complicated we can make it. Like he is made up of 750 million little squares, and we're gonna move them wherever the fuck we want. And it's just like, oh. And like even Prime's like face in the new one, like he's transforming, his face is moving around all these places. I'm like, his face is just his face.
Like basically I feel like the Bay movies made them more like insects than bots. And so whatever, man. Like, but okay, that said, I think we've gotten past. We know what
I don't even think we've talked about this trailer.
No, it's like, but no, but I will say, like, so Bumblebee was like the best, I think, of all
Yes, for
live
sure,
action
for
films.
sure.
So this is like a sequel to Bumblebee, right? So
Yeah,
um I like the idea that like Prime is meeting Optimus Primal, because apparently, again, I don't know the lore, but I do know it's all connected. Like I think that the Beast Wars is like they go back to the past,
yeah,
but they're from the future, right? So
yeah. There was
Primal
all kinds of
knows
weirdness.
what Prime, like it's gonna be a time travel type shit. So that's gonna be cool to see the two primes just kind of interact. So okay, fine. I'm a little intrigued, but I'm only going to go to the theater if the reviews are good. Otherwise, I'm going to sit this one out. But it's the trailer I'm least excited about of the ones that dropped. But yeah, like I thought that, like, I'm disappointed that after the accuracy of Bumblebee, like literally that opening Cybertron scene in Bumblebee, it's
Yeah,
faithful. It
yeah.
really is. They decided to go back to, let's make Mirage a fucking Porsche. Sorry.
I was thinking about that though, and I can almost accept that, because if you're going to use Mirage, the problem is you would never see an Indy car on the streets. So that
I have a comeback
it
though.
worked as a cartoon, and it worked fine, but like to make it all, and I'm only justifying this as best I can because I know it's Michael Bay and there's probably some dipshit reason behind it, but like you couldn't have an Indy car driving down the street. Now Mirage could make himself look like anything he wanted anyways, right? Like that was Mirage was,
Yeah.
he was the, I can't remember if he was a double agent at one point, but he masked himself a few times to look like different characters. So he could do that. Like, so it's possible that maybe he actually is an Indy car, and then he has to become a Porsche to fit in, because they've done that in the movies a few times too, where because Bumblebee was like, hey, I'm a 78 Camaro, hey shit, I need to be a brand new Camaro, like, and then 2 seconds later it looks totally different, and I'm like, that was Teletran. You needed fucking Teletran to do that shit.
But I guess my thing is, like, pay homage, right? So like,
yeah,
make him at least blue and white, like it's just the little things, man. Like if he was a blue and white Porsche, then I would have been, yeah, no, fuck it, blue and white, because if he was blue, white, and red and black, then that's clearly jazz, right? So at least do that, like make an effort, that's all I ask. Because again, and I'm also okay, so between the jazz shit, I mean not jazz, yeah, the jazz shit through the first one, Scuds, keep saying Scuds, Skids and Mudflap, Devastator, and then the ultimate. When I was growing up, I hate him now, but when I was growing up, I loved Starscream. Okay?
Yeah.
So when in Bumblebee in the trailers you see this jet that has like white with red, I'm thinking it's Starscream. Like finally, Starscream versus Bumblebee. Woohoo! This is G1 shit. No, it's fucking Blitzwing, and he dies.
Yeah.
Like I was done, and that was Bumblebee too. Okay, the best of the live action. So you just keep on burning me, and trust me, like there's like in terms of the percentiles of like Transformers fan, I know G1 wise, I am definitely in the top 1 percentile. Like it is. I know you're talking about memory and shit, dude. I can recite the entire 1986 film, the whole script. I can do the music. I can do the sound effects. I grew up Catholic. Church is boring as hell to me. All I had to do was like press play in my brain, and then it's just like, it is the year 2005. Like I do the whole movie and play it. So, anyways, I'm getting way too okay.
But yeah, it just I don't know. I'll probably you know what? I'm lucky. I think that I have the excuse that I do. I won't see it in the theater because I don't think my kids have any interest in it. So I probably there's no reason for me to go see it. I hope it's good. Like I really hope it's more Bumblebee than Transformers 1, 2, 3. I'm not optimistic yet. The fewer times I see Michael Bay's name, the better. You can tell Michael Bay doesn't direct it because there's no fucking sunrise or sunset scene, and there's no shot of the camera going around somebody in a big fat circle. So that's how you know it's not Michael Bay, which is always a plus. Michael Bay has kind of worn out all of his tricks, I think. And I'm over Michael Bay. But
Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is in it too.
Yeah.
He's Scourge, which is really
interesting.
Okay, first of all, Scourge was not a Terracon. He was created by Unicron, because Scourge was one of the Thundercroc or whatever. And then there's Nightbird, and Nightbird in the original was like a ninja bot who was in one episode. Anyways, I'm sorry.
There's like you said, if you compare it to Feige, there's a lack of
respect.
Yeah, respect for the original material, which I mean, I get was a little corny, right? It was a kid's show, but we love that show. Like I watched that show every day that it was on, all the time. And maybe I didn't watch as religiously as you did. Like I think you probably like it more than I do, and I can accept that. I don't have a problem with that. But I still love Transformers. I had the toys. I watched the shows. I watched the movie multiple times. It was the first, was a PG animated film I think that I saw in the theater. It was intrinsically part of my childhood. Like it was, and they just been done dirty so many times. I hope this is better. I hope it's better. I hope that everything that scares me is wrong. But I don't know. We'll find out. So I think we beat that to death. But speaking of things from our childhood that I hope to God get done right, there was a trailer later in that same day, or maybe it was the next day, for Indiana Jones 5, the Dial of Destiny. Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Which is weird to me, but okay. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had a better name, although it was not a great film. But this one looks promising. It definitely looks more promising than the Crystal Skull. Part of me, like I know I'm in the minority, but part of me wishes they got Shia LaBeouf back. I loved Shia in Crystal Skull. He's one of the better parts for me. But I love Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think she's fucking hilarious. I love the idea that they're going to have a solid dynamic. They show that scene where, they ask, who she is, and she's like, I'm nobody, and he's like, oh, it's my goddaughter, and you're like, okay. So like there's some, she might be what's his name's daughter actually, if he's the goddaughter.
Sala.
Yeah, maybe. That just came to me right there. So I don't know. But possible. But I like that he's back. They de-age
yes,
Harrison for a few different things. So there's a couple of good actors popping up in the trailer. Definitely lots of action. I think I said it to the group. I think my only complaint, my only fear is I hope that it's not all I hope there's substance to it and it's not all just action. I hope the next trailer that comes out before the movie comes out gives me a little idea of what the story actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but otherwise, I mean, it looks good. It looks. I hope it's better than Crystal Skull. I'm trying to remember if I remember seeing the trailers for Crystal Skull and thinking that it looked good, because I'm sure that I did, and it wasn't. But one big complaint that I had about the first one, or sorry, of Crystal Skull, is that they went so deep into the CGI and sound stages and stuff like that. And I think this one they tried to do more practical and more location shots and tried to get away from the sound stages, which is a big deal. I think for Indiana Jones to work, it's got to feel authentic. Like if you watch them film um, The Last Crusade, like they were out there in the desert driving around. They were out there doing all this stuff. So we'll see. But my hope is that it is uh, more substance than style when we get more to the next trailer.
Yeah, I basically am very, very impressed with the trailer. The vibe that I get from Crystal Skull, Dial of Destiny, is Maverick. Because it's like you're going back to that practical effects vibe, but with just, advanced technology where it's just a more authentic capture of everything. It's just everything, but just newer and better, but still gritty. I think that well, first of all, James Mangold, okay, was a co-writer and director on this. And James
Okay.
Mangold did Logan. So,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
me, it's like I think, if we really want to have like, the last appearance of someone who's legendary, I think Mangold
yeah,
is someone that I trust, because he understands, what it means. Like but he's realistic about it. Like I don't think he'd ever be corny with the end, but it would just really still tug at your heartstrings, but just have a little bit of cynicism to it. Um, I had a couple of things I wanted to say about this. I'm not the biggest indie fan at all, but it makes me want to go back and watch all of them. So that way I really kind of feel, and I know I will, when I feel this movie is coming out June 30th, 2023. So it's going to be a perfect like summer movie for next summer. Crystal Skull came out to me like it came out in 2008, I think. Um, and that's around the same time as Superman Returns, which is 2006. So I feel like a lot of the sequels back then just they didn't deliver. It was almost like they're trying too hard to be something new, or an update that didn't feel or didn't have connectivity to the old one. Whereas I feel like now people understand if you're going to make something new, make sure the connectivity is there. Even the music, like you're not going to change the John Williams music, but the way the music just kind of echoed throughout that trailer was
yeah.
just okay, this tells me that they get it and they're going to do this right. I don't know much about Phoebe Waller-Bridge. But I know that she's a big deal, so I trust that she's going to be great in her role. um yeah, no, I think this trailer is neck and neck with Guardians as far as for me my excitement. And I'm gonna make a confession. You guys can laugh at me all you want. I never saw The Last Crusade. So I'm
Oh,
gonna
then you
yeah.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
get
So
yourself those. I think they're on Disney Plus right now.
yeah, yeah,
So I think
they
they're easy to
all
get
are.
to.
So
It's funny
but
if I was gonna say, if you're not familiar with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, check out Fleabag on Amazon Prime.
yeah.
She's great in it, and funny enough, she breaks the fourth wall in that show. And to me, when she does it in there, is how they should have done She-Hulk. Um, because it's brief, but it's funny and it's always a little poignant. It always means something when she does it. And that show is funny because she's a mess. Like her character's a mess, her life is a mess. Like, but it's a good show. Like it's good. It ends quickly. I think they could have probably got more seasons out of it, but it ends in an interesting spot that is good enough for the show to end at. Um, and I could definitely recommend Fleabag. So if you want to take a look at her work, that's where I'd start.
Awesome.
Yeah, probably a good indicator of the amount of attitude that her character will have in Indiana Jones. Um, but yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. And like you said, comparing to Maverick, kind of makes me think, yeah, I've got to go in a little more open-minded because I was very not fired up for Maverick. And when I finally did watch it, I was like, yeah, I really liked this. Which, side note, it comes out on Paramount Plus, I think, on the 22nd of December.
Oh,
So
that's
it'll be
good
streaming
timing.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely
Um,
watch that again.
I think he got injured on the set actually, which is also makes me
Yes. Yes, they
respect.
had to shut down for a little while, I think. Or maybe, wait, was
Yeah,
it
no, I
Star
think they did.
Wars?
I think it was or maybe yeah, but yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it was
I
Star
mean,
Wars.
he's like 100 years old. I think he gets hurt walking down the stairs.
But
Um,
and then I also liked, honestly, before we move on, I liked that scene where like literally he's got the whip and then all the guys get the gun, and then like he's like, oh, and then he ducks, they all shoot. I was like, that is so 80s. Like, so I was like, we're in good hands. Like I when I
yeah.
saw that end, and I chuckled to myself, even though it was corny, it was great because that was just so what the tone of the original films was.
Mhm.
They went back to the gag, like, it's right. It's a total reversal of when the guy had the sword. He just like shot him with a gun. Like
Yep.
it's yeah,
Which
we're in
is to me one of the most iconic like stories with a story
yes.
because of the food poisoning, right? Like that's the story behind that one. Like
Oh
that was
yeah, what?
supposed to be a big old
Oh,
thing. He was supposed to do all this shit and all this, but he was super sick that day. And so the guy goes through his big old thing, rah, 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 and then it was supposed to be a whip fight. But instead, he like if you look at him, he's like sweating, like he's super sick on set. And so the he had to go throw up. He had to go to the bathroom. So he pulls out the gun, shoots him, cut, and they're like, fucking, that was great. We're gonna use that. But that was not the original scene. The original scene was supposed to be this big ordeal.
I read too
Uh
that the guy trained for 3 months for that scene, and then he just goes out like that. That was
yeah,
I thought that's what you're gonna tell, but I know the other part, so that's we just put it together.
yeah, it's funny. And it's always one of those classic stories to know because it's like how films are made, right? Like it's such a weird thing that it changes the story and it's such a great moment in the story, but it wasn't originally in the story. Like it came out of real life and made stories. So
I'm so
yeah.
sorry. I'm gonna do one more thing because
Sure.
we got to pay tribute to the genius of Harrison Ford, and you know this story, but apparently, like Peter Cullen, so when Leia says "I love you," like he was like, yeah, no, Han would not say "I love you" back. That's not
Hmm.
Han. Like he wouldn't say that, but they didn't know what they were gonna say. Let's just keep the cameras rolling. We'll see what happens. So when he does say "I know," like it was perfect. It was
Yeah.
perfect. That's Harrison Ford, man, understanding his character. So movie making in the spot.
Yep. And he was, relatively new to the craft back then too. And he was just so great at it. And it's funny that um he is so good as Han Solo, but it's interesting. I think he never really liked Han Solo. Like he likes Indiana Jones so much more than Han Solo, I think. And that's always tripped me out a little bit because he was so fucking good as Han Solo. So good. Um, but it is what it is. So yeah, that takes us to our very last trailer that we watched this week. And it's a big one that I didn't realize was coming out. I mean, the timing makes sense now that you think about it with the holiday special just coming out. But they dropped the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Um, and I mean, this is setting up some big stuff, I think. Maybe like looking at it, I don't see anything that is obviously like future of the MCU type stuff. Like this just feels like a little maybe compartmentalized um Guardian story, which I'm fine with. I the two villains I'm not familiar. Well, actually, one will be long term. One is Adam Warlock. He'll be around for a while. He's a big deal. And he's not usually a villain. I think it's very possible that if they continue Guardians of the Galaxy and hand it off, that he could be a member of the Guardians in the future. Um, I'd have to remember the history of Adam Warlock a little better to know for sure, but that is a possibility, I think. Um, but the other villain, I'm not familiar with who he is. Um,
I'm so
but
mad at myself because it's like the that friend of mine I was talking about who knows all this stuff, like he broke down all this stuff, and I'm like I'm forgetting it all. It sucks. I actually had things to add, but apparently just from memory, when I remember the name of that villain you're talking about, like he apparently has something to do. It's a theory, it might not be true, but there's like another Earth, like another kind of a double Earth, that has all these kind of animal like things going on,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like behind the moon, so it just kind of like so what we don't see it, so when they go to the planet and like they're kind of like, we come in peace, whatever, and that whole like thing happens,
Hmm.
it's that other Earth that they're going to. So that's like from the comics, so that's pretty cool. But as far as like all the other pieces, like where the story's going, in a way, like I'm already kind of in my feelings about the Guardians. Like I really do love them. I remember how I knew I really loved them, is going back to Infinity War. Like after that first, like the first two scenes, like in with Thanos, and then of course the fight in New York. I'm like, yo, like this is not looking good, But then it's
Yeah,
just like dun 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 dun. You see them come, and I'm like, I was so happy to see them. It's just like, okay,
yeah.
there's hope. So now we're gonna lose this motley crew of like plucky, plucky heroes, fucking Rocket's talking about let's do like one last ride or whatever. Like I'm not paying too much attention to this because I just don't want to know. I just want to savor
Yeah.
the awesomeness that is who they are. Um, I gotta say, Will Poulter, like, I know he's always been a funny looking dude. I thought he was gonna be a little more like heroic looking, but I just feel like it's just Will Poulter in gold. Like, I don't know. I just,
I know that I don't know if any of the shots were good enough, but he got pretty friggin' jacked though.
yeah, from what I
He is
could
pretty
see.
big, yeah. Um, I don't know that the trailer necessarily emphasized that.
We'll
Um,
see.
but he got pretty big. Yeah, but he is I don't know if he stays as gold in the comics as he is there either, because they were creating him in Guardians 2, right? After they get their ass the whatever they are, get their asses handed to them. They got the cocoon. They have Adam Warlock's cocoon there at the end. Um, and he's a badass, like in the comics. Like Adam Warlock is a big deal. So it's going to be interesting one way or the other. I think that planet they show, if I'm not mistaken, or at least from the trailer, and it may not be canon, it may not be what they actually do. But I think it feels like that's where Rocket's from, maybe.
Ah, yes, yes. We see the
Uh,
otter too. That looks
yeah,
cute.
yeah. There's just a lot of heart in this one.
High
Um,
evolutionary.
that's right. That's right. I think the rumors are that at least a couple of the Guardians are going to kick it in this one.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to come out alive, and that's interesting. Um, we talked a little bit about it, but I think some of that comes out of the stuff that went down with Disney and James Gunn, and how much this cast loves James Gunn. Like they really like they are team James Gunn. When Disney fired James Gunn, they were Dave Bautista especially was incredibly vocal about just where he thought Disney could shove their Guardians.
Yeah.
Like he was, and I think he may have soured on Disney from that. Um, and it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know who comes out of it alive. You know, you could call any one of them and say that they're going to die. Um, but I feel like it's interesting too. Like I don't know if you posted it or if I just saw it somewhere, but the story from Zoe Saldana about how she, yeah, you did. That's right. That's right. Um, she's kind of tired of being in that superhero life. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's so interesting. Bradley Cooper, I haven't heard him complain one way or the other, but I mean, he's got the easiest gig out of all of them, except for maybe Vin Diesel, I guess.
Right.
Um, but even on set, it's not Bradley Cooper, it's Sean Gunn
Yeah.
is Rocket. So I don't know, man. Anybody could go easily and anybody could stay. it's this one's gonna hurt. Like this is gonna be
Exactly.
it's gonna be a tearjerker, big time. And they just, I mean, they get you in this fucking trailer with like David Baby Rocket with his big baby rocket eyes, and then him hugging the otter, and everybody loves otters.
Yeah.
Otters are fucking adorable. Like they're just they're coming at us. They're coming right at us, man.
And we finally see Gamora's return, of course. So we'll
Hmm.
see what happens there. There's, I mean, even I don't know the song, but like the song even just kind of took on my heartstrings. I just, like I said earlier, like I'll be shocked if this movie isn't good. I think it's gonna be great.
Yes. Yeah.
I found it. It's called Counter Earth. So,
Okay.
so it's for all the nerds out there who know what Counter Earth is. Maybe it is, but the High Evolutionary created it as a pure version of the original Earth. And then there's also something called Man Beast who shows up, who's a villain, whatever. But we know that, Feige and co take the source material, remix it, and then maybe make it better. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, yeah, I'm ready to be sad. I mean, I think that when you bring up that Mantis is Star-Lord's sibling, like that just makes the stakes higher for if anything were to happen to them. So, um, yeah, it's sad, and I think you're right. I think that the whole uh James Gunn thing with Disney really did sour the cast, and they're kind of like, okay, well now we know who you guys are, so to speak. There's no
Yeah.
loyalty, so let's just like as soon as our contracts are over, we're done. But I think to go back to Star Trek: The Next Generation, all good things. That's like the last episode of the
Yep.
series.
Yep.
All good things, my friend. It's a thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. And I mean, these guys they've had their tour. They played their part in the Infinity Saga. They were critical in Infinity War. Um, they were at least a few of them were absent in Endgame, right? I think Rocket makes it through, and what's her
Nebula.
face Nebula makes it
But I
through, and that's
mean,
about it.
but Star-Lord's part of the reason that they were absent in the first place. I mean, let's be
That's true. That's true.
real.
Should have gone for the head, Star Lord. Uh,
Ugh.
but yeah. So yeah, it's interesting that they have been, while they've had their own stories. They really have. Like the Guardians movies are pretty well removed from the rest of the
Yes,
MCU,
1,000,000%.
um, because of their
Cosmic.
location. Like
Yeah.
cosmically speaking, they've been way out there. But at the same time, being in nowhere and being at the places they've been, they're hints to the rest of the MCU and the future of the MCU. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think I agree. I think it's going to be good. I think it'll be really good. I think it's going to hurt. There's going to be some heartbreak in this one. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm excited for it. To be fair, I'm excited for this. I'm still probably more excited for this than Indiana Jones. Um, but it's fresher. I've seen the Guardians films. I've seen Endgame and Infinity War. So many times and so recently, um, that it's definitely more fresh. So
It's funny, because I think that I'm more excited for India actually, and the reason why is because I feel, and you guys know how I feel about this, like I feel like I went into phase 4 expecting like to be blown away. And the only phase 4 movie that kind of blew me away were Spider-Man and Wakanda Forever. And every other one didn't blow me away. So my bar is raised so high. I'm just kind of like, now I just expect excellence. Whereas indie, like I expect to be blown away because I'm very much I'm actually less than a lukewarm fan. Like I think more people, the average person knows more about Indiana Jones than I do as far as like my age. So I'm looking to be like, I know they're gonna do this right. And again, it's James Mangold. Okay, like I liked the Wolverine. I mean, it didn't do the best, but I liked
mhm.
it. But I really loved Logan. So if you're gonna take
Yeah,
the Logan guy and match him up with a legend like Harrison Ford, I think it's gonna be fucking amazing.
yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'll see it. I'll see it in the theater. I want to see that one for sure. So Transformers can bite it, but Guardians I'll see. Or sorry, Indie I'll see. So Cool. Well, with that, we turned a lot of nothing into a lot of something.
I was just about to say
Uh,
that.
so that's how we roll. I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week. Maybe we'll inch into some Christmas stuff. Um, I may try and catch up on Us or Train to Busan. Uh, can't decide which one of those I should do. I've been meaning to watch both forever. So mentioning those tonight, I'm like, damn it, I need to get into those. Um, but yeah, we'll come up with something for next week. Maybe Pete will stop sucking and he'll show up. Andy, I didn't even hear from him today. I have no idea what he had going on. And Kim's just she's
I
man
miss you,
hungry.
Kim. Like
Yeah,
seriously, like just forget about your libido. Like
I know, man.
1 week and come
I don't
over.
know.
Can't
Just
believe I said that.
stop climbing the man trunk and just get over here back on the show. Jeez.
It's just once,
Just,
but
yeah.
I'm actually a little sad. I'm gonna be
Or
moving
you
to the
might not be
Bay
here
Area.
next week.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I probably won't be here next week, but the week after I'll be back.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if we take a break. If I can get one of the guys to show up with me. I may just go wild and crazy and just do myself. I don't know. That would probably be awful. I'll probably record it and then burn it, but you never know. So we'll see what happens next week. Next week's a little up in the air as we inch ever towards closer towards Christmas. Man, the year's almost over. This was a good year for us. We had a lot of episodes this year. We were pretty reliable for ourselves. Uh, so yeah, so we'll look forward to next week. As always, don't forget to comment. Obviously Leah comments all the time. She likes us.
We
Why don't
love you, Leah.
be like Leah? Just if you're watching the show, just be like Leah. Leave a comment. Tell us how cool we are, and or how much we suck. That's cool too. I don't care. Um, don't forget to like, subscribe, set up a notification so you know when the episode drops. Look for us on socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. I think maybe right now those are the only two we're on, but that's fine. We have a Facebook page, so if you want to tell your grandparents about us, then you go to Facebook and do that. But yeah, otherwise we will see you next week, and have a great week.
Thanks for listening.
I can talk about The Last of Us, but I don't think I need to right now. Um, that just dropped today. Did you watch that trailer
Oh yeah,
that I put in the chat?
it looks good.
Looks so good.
Yeah.
It's what's cool is like you're saying that you've never played the games, you don't
Ever.
like, you're not
No.
drawn into it. So for me, that's probably the coolest part, because I know I've said this before, but I know exactly what's supposed to happen. I know how this is supposed to go. Um, and other people, like you that haven't watched it, don't know. So it's going to be a new experience for you. And I'm totally stoked for it.
I'm already looking forward to and I was actually even thinking like, wow, respect, like you didn't spoil anything. So apparently Lyanna Mormont has some sort of special powers. Like she doesn't she didn't get infected or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to take her to the West or some shit. And that's cool. Like I'm already in. It's like Logan meets The Walking Dead or something. And
It's very Logan. As a matter of fact, there was a huge push from the fan base, and I got it, but at the same time, I didn't want it. Where people wanted Hugh Jackman to play Joel, and I don't think it would have been too on the nose to do.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm glad they didn't cave to that or didn't try to do that. But the people behind it are fucking brilliant. Number one, Neil Druckmann, the guy that made the video game, is behind the show, right? So he wrote the whole game. Now he's writing the show. And then the guys behind Chernobyl,
Yep.
Craig Mazin
Yeah, no, and I know it's just a trailer, but like a huge part of what also got me for the original trailer was that the way they interpolated, I think they call it, Take On Me by Aha. I was just
Hmm.
like, this is cool. Like, because it's eerie but ethereal and familiar and dystopian and sad.
Uh, but so music was a big deal in Last of Us Part Two. Troy Baker is a good singer. He played Joel, and Ellie was played by Ashley Johnson, and she has a pretty voice. I mean, she's never going to put out an album, but she's got a pretty voice. But they did this little album of like 4 songs. Um, I want to see if I can tell you what they were, but one of them was "Take on Me," and she sings "Take on Me"
Oh,
almost acoustic, like
awesome,
it is
dude.
acoustic. It's super good.
I just got a chill,
Um,
my friend. So it wasn't just like some window dressing. It was straight up from
yeah,
the roar of the show. I mean, the game. That's oh man, I'm in.